Hi, brothers and sisters. Father Edwin here for this town hall. I'm anxious to speak to you tonight and then to hear you. This meeting will go for about an hour because it's going to get dark out here where I'm sitting, probably within an hour or so. So as long as I have light, we're willing to be here and answer questions, as long as the temperature stays comfortable, so I can sit here on the sidewalk on King Boulevard. So let's begin with a prayer. Let us pray. Lord, we ask your presence with us tonight, that we may know your love for each of us. We may be lovers of others, that others may come to know you through us. We pray with our Muslim brothers who are fasting these days, that you may be near to them, that they may be a sign of your love to those lives that they touch. We ask for a double portion of your spirit, that we may always be about what you desire. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. So I'm happy to be here tonight. I want to start this little discussion with chapter 12 of the book of Genesis. And it says this. Yahweh God said to Abram, "Leave your country, your family, and your father's house for this land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name so famous that it will be used as a blessing." So Abram went as God told him. Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had amassed, and people they had acquired in Haran. They set off for the land of Canaan and arrived there. So just a quick reflection on that Abram got asked to leave everything that he knew, everything that was familiar to him, and to walk and to go to a place that God would show him. And it's interesting to me that he didn't ask any questions. He didn't say, how long will I be gone? When am I going to arrive? What should I bring with me? Who's coming? He didn't say any of that. He just started to walk. And essentially, that's what we need to try to do as people of faith, is to walk according to the promptings of God. And that's what we've tried to set out to do here since 1972, 73. Just to walk in faith. So I want that as a backdrop to the discussions tonight, number one. Number two is this from the 53rd chapter of the Rule of Benedict. All guests who present themselves are to be welcomed as Christ, for he himself will say, I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Proper honor must be shown to all, especially to those who share life with us. Once a guest has been announced, the superior and the brothers are to meet them with all the courtesy of love. First of all, they are to pray together and thus be united in peace. But prayer must always precede the sign of peace, because the devil can get busy. All humility should be shown in addressing a guest on arrival or departure, by a bow of the head or by complete prostration of the body. God is to be adored because he is indeed welcomed in them. After the guests have been received, they should be invited to pray, and the superior or an appointed brother will sit with them. So it goes on about the reception of guests. And great care and concern are to be shown in receiving poor people and pilgrims, because in them more particularly God is received. Our very awe of the rich guarantees them special respect. So the rule by which we live, both as monks and by those who come to school here or bring their children here, is that of openness to guests, openness to pilgrims, and to foreigners. So Abraham's walk, Benedict's admonition to the openness to guests is the backdrop for this discussion. Now, a little history, since I have more history than anyone else on this screen tonight, and probably likely more than anyone else even viewing from home. And that is this. In 1972, St. Benedict's Prep closed. The monks had no intention of reopening St. Benedict's Prep. None. That was not our intention. We met for a year and eventually decided to open up an educational venture. It was not St. Benedict's Prep. There was different stationery, different logo, different everything. Until one night at a parents' meeting, Carl Lamb Sr., his son was in the class in 1978, Carl Lamb Sr. asked me a question, and he said, how come, Father Ed, it was good enough to be St. Benedict's Prep when it was all of you, meaning white? Now that it's all of us, it can't be St. Benedict's Prep anymore. And I had no sufficient answer for him, so I said, Mr. Lamb, I think you just reopened St. Benedict's Prep. That will happen tomorrow morning. So St. Benedict's Prep reopened because people in town taught us how we might be of service to them and allowed us the privilege here at the Abbey, allowed us the privilege of accompanying them through life. And we've been doing that for the last 48 years. Next fact. When we designed the educational institution, this is what it was going to look like. We had Father Albert, who had just finished his master's degree in curriculum development at Columbia. We had others who were older, way older than I was. I was 26, who had ideas about education. And it was going to be a school of 120 students. 30 freshmen, 30 10th graders, 30 11th graders, and 30 12th graders. That was the school we were going to have. That lasted about a year or a year and a half until I sit here talking to you today, and that was grades 9 to 12. Today, we have grades K through 13 and over 800 students. Somewhere along the way in the late 1970s, an alumnus said, Father Ed, you need to bring back the minims. The minims in the 1920s and the late teens were 7th and 8th graders. I ignored Mr. Blewett, who graduated in 24, for as long as I could until he pestered me so much. I said, well, maybe that's not a bad idea. So we created the minims. Didn't call them the minims, we call it the lower division. Several of the people on this broadcast tonight were members of the lower division, beginning with Mr. Cassidy, correct? I think you're the oldest on this screen, Cass. Can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute. I think that's correct, yes.
Okay. And I think there's others on here as well who were LDs. And then a little further along the way, in fact, more recently, the Archdiocese of Newark was going to close St. Mary's Elementary School. And then instead of doing that, they asked us to take it over. The numbers in St. Mary's Elementary School were declining. In fact, they were at about 170 in grades K through 8. We took it over, and now in grades K through 6, we have about 175 students. So there's more students now in K through 6 than there were in K through 8 when we took it over. And when we took it over, that forced us to be involved with the dreaded girls on St. Benedict's property. Even though girls had been on St. Benedict's property since when I was a kid in the Drama Guild, every year, several weeks during the year, they were here after school all the time. So that, in fact, one of the girls on this broadcast tonight came to school here in first grade, and by the time she was in eighth grade, she was responsible for running the middle division, which is the seventh and eighth grade. And I would say that was probably capable at that time of running the whole place if we had given her the opportunity to do that. So that's Troy Slade. Where's Troy? Identify yourself, Troy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Troy.
Okay. Now, that's a little bit of a broad sweep, broad strokes, as a friend of mine would say, of the history. I would also say this. I sat in various places around when people would say to me, Father Ed, alumni back in the 70s, right? Father Ed, how many, what's the number of, do you have many, and I'd let him hang out there as long as I could. And then I'd finally say, do you mean black guys? Because black was the term used most often in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, why? I said, is that a problem? They're alums, right? Second question. Well, they're not Catholic, are they? Why are we doing this for people who aren't Catholic? I said, well, that's why we're doing it. Not because they're not Catholic or are Catholic, but because we're Catholic. And it's our obligation in the gospel to love one another as the Lord has loved us. In fact, one night, a parent at a very rich girls' school in a nearby wealthy suburb said to me, well, Father Ed, how would you know that you're being successful with these kids? The pronouns and they're always interesting, right? But you guys who are on the screen now, looking the way you all look, is proof of what I'm talking about, what we've done, right? So he said, well, how do you know you're being successful? And I was young and probably stupid at the time. I said, well, when the guys that we're teaching and living with are living next door to you. He didn't ask me any more questions. And the fact is, a lot of those guys, a lot of you guys are living next door to people where you couldn't have lived. If somebody didn't have the idea, well, maybe if we don't ride the buses, we can get people's attention. When he did that in Montgomery, he had no idea where that was going to go. No idea. Other than, if we don't ride the buses in Montgomery, maybe we can get something to change in Montgomery. So, I say that because I'm going to ask either Karen or Agnes. It doesn't. You decide. Maybe you've decided already. To outline quickly. I'm telling you quickly after I've been running my mouth for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. How this whole event of the request to have an opportunity for girls somewhere associated with St. Benedict's Prep, associated with Newark Abbey and St. Benedict's Prep, how that happened. Who's going, Agnes or Karen? Nobody. Talk to me, somebody. Go ahead, Agnes, you hit the light.
On February 23rd, the Benedictine Sisters of Elizabeth announced that our—
Hard to hear you, speak up.
On February 23rd, the Benedictine Sisters of Elizabeth announced that our school was closing, and the very first thing that we did, the leadership team met the day of and made a plan to try to get our school back. So we wrote letters to the leadership team at Benedict's, just explaining our situation and why we wanted to save the school. A few of the girls on the leadership team went to Benedict's a few days after, and from then we started an effort to save the school. We had a meeting one night with parents and students of Benedictine Academy, just explaining why we wanted to save the school. And then we continued and met with Bishop Elias Lorenzo. And after that, he told us that the possibility of our schools merging, Benedictine Academy and St. Benedict's Prep merging was impossible. So instead of giving up from there, we kept on pushing, and we decided that we were going to approach Father Ed about an all-girls division. So from there, we've been recruiting girls, currently about 61 of them. So that's where we are right now.
Karen?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I was at the original meeting, and in the first discussions, the leadership team originally agreed that they were absolutely going to help us. And so just, furthermore, to get to the point where we got to now, we had to recruit girls, we had to get parents, and it hasn't been as difficult as we thought it would be, because we do have an overwhelming amount of support from parents and students. So I think that if we were to approach this and keep going, it would be very successful, because we do have a lot of support here. We have people who are interested in helping us out from other schools. We have girls who are coming in and transferring. So I think that shows that this project or this school is set up for success.
So I was not, by the way, I was not in the meeting. This whole project has been driven completely by kids. And the only person I can blame for all that is Father Mark Payne, who always taught us that don't do for kids what kids could do for themselves. Well, these kids have done pretty well for themselves. They eventually pulled me into a meeting and kind of ordered me that I needed to do something about this. So I've tried to accompany them along the way. What this will look like, well, I have no idea right now. I have no idea. That's what makes that's the fun of it, right? Because you can go into a battle with a battle plan, but no battle plan ever works out the way according to the plan that you set. You have to adjust and move and change things as you go. And we're going to be trying our best to provide this opportunity for the board. The board of trustees of the school voted overwhelmingly to support these kids in this effort. I don't think they would have supported it as strongly had it not been kids driven. Several board members said, I don't know how you walk away from a bunch of teenagers that are black and brown and have a request of a place that's essentially black and brown and not respond. So that's why we're trying our best to respond. How that works out in the everyday is still in the works. And for those people, as you ask questions, remember this: we have not been in school, brothers and sisters, since March 13th. And I'm not sure when or how we're going to be in school. So you can't think about this in the way that you experienced school when you were here at St. Benedict's, because that's not coming back, in my opinion, anytime soon. The way we went to school, or anybody else on this call went to school, is not coming back anytime soon. School is going to be very, very, very different. If you haven't seen it, the University of California system, which is the largest state university system in the United States of America, already has announced that they will not be on campus in the first semester next year, which means they won't be, at least as I understand it, they won't be playing football either. And for those who follow football, Aaron Rodgers, who is not a bad football player, is a University of California, Berkeley, I think, alum. And they're not playing football. That's a big-time football program and a lot of money involved in it, but it doesn't sound to me like they're doing it. So school is going to be very, very different. So when you ask questions, try not to think about it in terms of the way you experienced school even 5 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago, because it's not going to be the same. So having said all that, Troy, you have anything you want to add?
I just want to say that coming from St. Mary's Elementary School and transitioning into St. Benedict's Prep in 8th grade, it was really easy for us to assimilate to the culture just because we had all of the senior group leaders, the faculty and staff that just made the transition really easy. So I don't think, because I know there will be questions, but I don't think that the culture will be affected in any way.
Okay, now, Karen said that they came to a meeting here and they were supported by our guys. I told you I was not in the meeting. Sekou and Sunil, I don't think you were were you in the meeting at all, Sekou, that day or no?
No, I wasn't.
But you've been working at various times through the Vox Institute with the kids, with the girls from Benedictine, as well as kids from all over the country, correct?
Yes, I have.
So Sunil's like he's a witness here. Sekou, if either of you guys want to contribute anything, go ahead.
So no,
Or if you want to wait until you hear questions, that's okay too.
I could just start it off by saying I think this is a great opportunity, and I think this is a great idea. Benedict is all about opportunity, and as Benedictine needed an opportunity, so this is us trying to help. I don't know where this is going to go. This might turn out bad, it might turn out good, but what is success without adversity along the way? That's all I have to say for now.
Sunil?
Yeah, I completely agree. At Benedict's, we're a community, and so Benedictine being our sister school, this is what we do. We help each other in times of need.
Okay, we have questions coming in. Anybody help me?
Yes, Father. We have a question the first question on the list was, what section of the school will the girls be in?
Yeah, see, these are the kind of questions that I'd love to know who asks them, because I tried to say as best I could that where that is, I can tell you where I think it might be right now, but I have no guarantee where it'll be, because as this evolves and we think about it and try to come up with the best plan, it'll change. So I'm not sure where they're going to be, but I have no idea. I shouldn't say no idea. I have some ideas. Which one will be the best one? I don't know yet. What else?
We have what becomes of, or how does this affect our relationship with St. Vincent's Academy, and why couldn't Sister June accommodate the needs of these young women?
You have to ask Sister June that.
There is a comment that this is a big mistake and will change what SBP has been and will affect the culture.
Well, prove it.
The question about, does this mean there will be co-ed classes?
No, it does not mean that. I'd love to know, well, let me put it this way. Father Ed, you can't really do anything with them. You know what they're like. Lucky I didn't listen to that. Lucky the monks didn't listen to that. So now somebody's got a definitive statement that this will affect the culture. Prove it. How do you know that? I don't know that, and I live here. It may. But the way the proposal is written, I'll tell you this, the way by the Board of Trustees wrote the proposal, it said that this is an experiment for 3 years to be evaluated annually, at least once annually, and that every application that's given to anybody, that statement that it's an experiment for 3 years, so we have to prove that it will work, is to be given to every applicant. So everybody that comes know that we're looking for pioneers, understand? So that people who want to build something. So if these girls, some of whom are sitting in front of you, want this that badly, they better make it work. They better make it work. But I can't prove that it won't work. nor can I prove that it will work any more than the person that asked the question can prove that it won't work.
Question for Sekou, and Sunil, what do the present St. Benedict students have to say about this idea?
I think that the students all agree with it. We all have the saying, whoever hurts my brother hurts me, whoever helps my brother helps me. So we just rearranged it into a sister sense. And that's what we're doing now. We're just helping our sister school. And that's what I think everybody, and I know everybody, will agree with.
From what I've heard everybody talk about is that people are not willing to have them here, or to allow them, give them the opportunity to be at a school that they want to be at, and everybody in the whole school is willing to help.
We attempted, by the way, to get the sisters. This was what Agnes was talking about, through the regional bishop for Union County, to have the sisters allow us to use the building at Benedictine Academy. We would run it, but allow us to use it. But the sisters are under such a difficult situation right now for a number of reasons that wasn't possible. So that was our first choice. And to make something work financially, it's going to be difficult to go find a building right now and not get tied up for months in lease agreements and all that kind of stuff. That would, especially with the diocese, and then you'd have to pay to lease the building, which makes the thing a heavier lift. So we're looking at other options right now, unless something. Now, remember, the church just announced what the church euphemistically calls consolidation, which I call closing schools. The Office of School Closures announced the closing of 10 diocesan schools, one of which is a high school here in town. So in Newark and its immediate southern suburb, Elizabeth, North Elizabeth, we've lost about 250 seats in Catholic schools. I know because I'm the president of the school board for Essex County Vocational and Technical Schools, or schools of technology, that there's no room in any of those schools for these kids. So that's a bit of a problem if you happen to be in one of those families. And that's why we're trying to move on this thing to be of some help for those who knock on the door of the monastery as guests. And so what else? What's another question?
Before I read another question, there are several questions in the chat regarding summer phase, regarding COVID and returning to the buildings and all like that. We're going to hold those. There is another town hall tomorrow night for questions regarding the change in summer phase that was announced earlier. So we're going to hold off on those tonight. If we have time, we may come back to the COVID questions. There are questions of what will the tuition be, and another financial related question: would it be financially prudent to make the old BA building available for SBP girls?
Will it be possible to make what building, Glenn?
The Benedictine Academy building
in Elizabeth, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes.
No, that's a dead issue. There's no way that's going to happen. That's not going to happen. So what will happen? What do I dream about? If you're asking me, listen, I got a wild imagination, brothers and sisters, wild. Longer term, but I don't consider. I'm 75 years old, so there's nothing long term for me. Believe me. But there's probably not anything long term for you either. You don't know. You can wake up dead tomorrow morning. We have no idea. That's why we have to maximize the opportunities that the Lord presents to us right now, and respond to the Lord's promptings. Because I don't want to be humming when I'm standing before the mystery of the divine. They say, why didn't you respond to those kids when they knocked on the door of the monastery? I don't want to have to answer that. It's, well, you have to understand it's going to screw up the culture of the place. I don't want to have to do that. I'm not going to do that. But the other thing that happens when you're 75, what the hell was the question again, Glenn? You forgot. Go ahead, I hope you did.
Well, I asked you what the tuition would be and whether or not the Benedictine Academy building would be available.
No, the Benedictine Academy building isn't available. Oh, I started talking about my dream. Thank you. That you would get a building that we would be responsible for, part of the Benedictine Abbey of Newark, near our property. I'm already talking to people about this. That could be used and developed to have an appropriate site for the girls' school. So, and if you notice, I even hesitate on calling it something because what we called this new venture was wrong. I don't know how it's going to emerge. I'm just walking. That's all I'm trying to do is to walk and find out where the Lord leads us in this process, day by day. I'm in real trouble because now my sister, who's a Benedictine alum, is now firing questions at me here on my phone. And the tuition, the agreement was, as happens frequently in these closure situations, is to keep the tuition immediately for the same as it would have been at Benedictine Academy because parents didn't know this was going to get dropped on their head. So that will be the same as it would have been at Benedictine next year, or this present year. What else?
Will the girls be required to hold to the same traditions as the boys?
That depends on, I don't know what the exact traditions they're talking about. I mean, the tradition of going out under the fence down in the corner before we had the field house and everything down there, there was a tradition of guys sneaking out under that fence. There was a tradition in the early 80s of guys jumping over the gate before the HAB was built and leaving in the middle of the day. So I don't know exactly what traditions people are talking about. If that means the backpack and the overnight, I don't know exactly what traditions their folks are thinking of. You have to help me with that. The girls can answer that, what they want, and then I can tell you how we piece it together. The people who do the overnight, do the backpack, are sitting right on the screen. They can reflect on it as well. The girls have told me, I don't want to speak for them, but one of the girls here told me, just treat us the way you treat the guys. I can't do that, but do you have a reaction, Karen or Agnes or Troy?
It's the same way that you treat the guys, but we're gonna have different traditions, but I want everything that Benedict's gets for the girls' division to get. For the girls.
Karen?
Yeah, I just want to say, to go back to the question about culture. Culture is malleable. If culture stayed the same, I would still be in the kitchen, right? We can't talk about changing, saying that a change in culture is bad when we know that change is good, right? So yeah, the culture is going to change, but culture should change. It's 2020, Strong men should learn how to coexist with strong women. So I think that this is very important, not only for us, but for Benedicts, for the community that already exists. We need this addition in order to, not only are we going to provide equity for everybody, but we're going to have a mutual respect between men and women. And I think that that's very important in today's society, especially when we're coming from a place where we've been denied multiple times. We've been said no to all the time. This is the first time that we've been said yes to us. The nuns said no to us multiple times. The sisters said no to us multiple times. So I think that everybody has to listen and just think that we have to coexist, and this is necessary for us to move on because we're not going to drop it. It's not a dead subject. So yeah, like I said, it's important for us to learn how to coexist with each other, and it's not going to be co-ed. It's going to be co-institutional. And I think that it's very important that we learn more about each other, and we already have the same background, St. Benedict. We want to continue in this tradition, And I think that's the only way to go, is to approach this girls division and succeed.
Troy?
One more thing. I want to go back to people were talking about us, the reason why the Benedictine girls couldn't go to a school like SVA or Roselle Catholic or Union Catholic. All of us, there's something special about Benedictine schools. And I think that everybody on this live knows that, because you're all here listening to us talking about this new girls division. There's something special about that. And you can't get that in a school from like RC or UC or any of those schools. So when people tell us to go to another school or just go to another all-girls school, it's not the same. And for us, if we give up on this and we don't pursue some kind of girls division, that means that no high school girl in this area would be able to get a Benedictine tradition anymore. And that just is unacceptable to me and to the other leaders.
Troy?
Going back to the question or discussion on tradition, I do think that as girls, we do want to be held to the same expectations as the boys, whether it's in sports, academics, leadership, even attendance. We still do want to be held to the same expectation as them.
You guys, Sekou, Sunil?
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason why we shouldn't hold the girls accountable to the same expectations. They're capable of doing the same exact things as us, and tradition is it's important, but the girls have their own traditions, and they look to continue doing their traditions as well as maybe build new ones.
Like Karen said, tradition always change. Look at the time we're in right now with this COVID-19. Education is changing, so I don't think it should be. I don't think it's an issue of us having a girls division and them following with our traditions.
I would also say,
jump in here.
Who is it? Rich?
Boone.
Oh, go ahead, Jay.
Hey, so everybody out there, Jared Boone, class of 13, senior group leader. Currently, I work with Jim Duffy over in the middle division, and Troy, as you can see, Troy was our first middle division leader. So I just want to offer a little bit of perspective as it pertains to tradition. I think there's a different way of thinking about this. I think the question was, how will the girls adjust to our tradition, our traditions as SBP, all male SBP? I think the other way to look at it, if this is going to be co-institutional, is that the girls will have the ability to establish their own traditions and their own sorts of rites of passage. Similar, they can be similar to what we've done in the prep division historically, but recognizing that there are differences in the two sexes, and recognizing that change is okay, as Karen mentioned. I don't think it's a bad idea to think about the girls being able to establish their own traditions outside of the all-male historical traditions.
I would also say, I would like people to think this part through. I hate the word culture, because I'm never quite sure what exactly that means, right? But I much prefer, a friend of mine taught me this, I much prefer the word attitude. Attitudes are important. What's our attitude towards another person? What's our attitude towards another group of people? Attitudes are it's easier for us to think about changing attitudes than it is to be thinking about changing culture. Right? Because culture, we can pawn it off on somebody else. I'm part of a culture. But an attitude is mine or yours. So what's the attitude? Is it going to change the attitude of St. Benedict's? I don't know that, as I say. But go ahead, Karen. Were you fixing your glasses, or were you going to say something?
I was fixing my glasses.
Oh, don't go to an auction. Other question, Cass?
Yeah, Father, for Troy, question of how did you feel being in a leadership position? How comfortable did you feel being in a leadership position in a predominantly boys?
So starting off, I wasn't really comfortable because there were only about, I want to say 17 7th and 8th grade girls and around like 90 so 7th and 8th grade boys. So yeah, I wasn't really comfortable, but I think that over summer phase when we did the leadership classes with Mr. Duffy and we had the girls and the boys present, when we were presenting like essays about ourselves, that made me feel, I don't know, it just gave me more confidence to talk in front of the guys. My real test of like how comfortable I was when I would speak in front of the prep division, because it's one thing to, you know, talk to people your age, but when you're talking to people who are like almost 18, almost grown men, it's a different thing. But I think that just the staff and the faculty really made me feel more comfortable, and they just made me feel like, I don't know, it was just easier to express myself in front of everyone after I had conversations and I got pointers from the faculty.
As education, tradition, and community activities are altered for the young men at St. Benedict's now, how does SBP take care of their needs while adequately taking care of the needs of these young women?
I don't know if Michelle wants to talk about that. It's easy, in my opinion, right now. You could have a girl sitting in her dining room on her computer taking a physics class from Mitch Molina easily. I mean, that part's easy. The harder part is when we're all, however this emerges, when we can have some people on the property and others not. My own feeling is that what will emerge is these. I've already said this to people. I hate this word, but this blended approach. I was just reading this from Nancy Cantor, the chancellor at Rutgers here in Newark, that I think everybody's beginning to plan for a class, whatever the class is. Some members will be in the class, some members will still be home, but doing the exact same work. And because of Michelle, who's sitting here with us tonight, Michelle Tuorto is the associate head at school, we'll be equipped with enough cameras to be able to do that, so that some people could be in the classroom at physical distance from one another, and others would be home doing the exact same class. Correct, Michelle?
That's correct, Father.
Michelle's a witness because Michelle doesn't agree with any of this, so she's a witness. So she's going to act like a witness tonight. This is the only place where you can do that, folks. Go ahead, Cass.
Father, we have a lot of questions coming in about the finances. How can we afford to do this? What does this do to our resources, especially in the midst of the pandemic and the likely recession, fundraising, etc.?
Yeah. Well, how can we afford to do this? This might be a revelation to a lot of people, but we couldn't afford to do it on July 2nd of 1973. We couldn't afford to do it then either, nor at any other day since July 2nd of 1973, when we started this caper. So you have to rely on number one, on people helping, and number two, on being frugal, right? So I mean, if these girls come, and it has to be. It cannot be a drain on our finances. Let me put it that way. Mike Fazio, who runs our advancement office, isn't on this call, so he ducked it. He's hiding somewhere. But can he get on it, Dexter? Let him answer that question. Dex, quick, work your magic. Get Fazio on. What else, Cass? I don't know. The answer to the question is, I don't know. I'm walking. I'm just walking. This is a test of faith, brothers and sisters. Also, you may say, no, it's a test of stupidity. Oh, okay. Well, let's see. A lot of people are blessed and lucky, I guess you would say, fortunate, let's put fortunate, with our stupidity here. Because it never worked from day one financially. From day one, never worked. We have to raise a lot of money. Can we raise the money in the recession? I have no idea. Because we haven't been out there doing it yet. The early indications are we raised $1 million in the month of April. More than we have ever raised since we've been doing this. So I don't know how do you explain that? I don't know, except God can make a way. They stopped at the Red Sea and they said, how the hell are we going to get across this? And they turned around and Pharaoh was breathing down their neck. And God said to Moses, tell them to go forward. Yeah, but there's water here. Go forward. It wasn't until they started going forward that the water opened and they found a way. God will make a way if we're doing God's will. God will make a way. How? I have no idea. Where's Fazio? Get Fazio, Dex. Go ahead, Cass.
He is monitoring this chat. Can you please outline the benefits? Can you please outline the benefits of this versus the potential liabilities for St. Benedict's?
I don't know. As I said, I don't know how to answer that. What are the potential liabilities? I don't think there's any more liabilities having girls on the property than there are presently, right? I don't think. You're dealing with.
It seems, Father, like the liabilities many people are talking about in this chat are about losing opportunities for boys or not being able to provide for young men of color the way we have for so many years. That's what's.
I don't think there's any reason to believe that would happen. That won't be happening if they're operating in two separate places, two separate operations. How does that happen? That it makes for problems for the boys. I don't think that. I'd be worried about if I were the girls. Are they going to really pay attention to us? It's a bigger problem if you're a girl, not if you're a guy. Number one, we know how to do it with guys. We're great at doing it with guys. We proved it over 5 decades with guys. It's a way bigger risk for the girls than it is for the guys. Way bigger. So I think I'd be more worried if I were one of the girls than I am one of the guys. I don't know what their liabilities are, though. What else that people mean specifically about that?
I think the other ones are finances and facilities.
Yeah, facilities is no doubt. So facilities is a huge problem. Believe me, as I said in the beginning, I'm 75 years old. I was not searching for ways of creating headaches for myself. We tried, some people, adults, tried to throw these girls off of we had a meeting on Tuesday night, tried to get the girls off so that the men could talk like men, I guess. The girls wouldn't leave. So I'm the one who's going to have to fight with these kids, right? Or John Rowe, or the other women that we bring on with the Benedictine tradition from BA. So that you're dealing with people that are mentally inhibited. Everybody needs to understand that. You're dealing with a bunch of kids who are not yet 25 years old. Therefore, they're mentally inhibited because their brains are not fully developed. Therefore, they need to be watched, protected, guarded from creating irreparable harm for each other. That will be the big challenge, and that will be an opportunity to say, listen, guys, and listen, ladies, you wanted this, you had better make it work with your attitude. Not the culture, with your attitude. Every single day, you better make it work with your attitude. So I don't know exactly what people mean by, I don't think there's any liability for the guys. It's a much bigger liability for the girls, in my opinion.
Father Mike Fazio wanted me to let you know the board approved going forth knowing this venture would come with a net cost of $200,000. The gap would need to be made up by fundraising. BA raised roughly $750,000 per year. We raised $8+ million annually. We believe from Benedictine alumni and other sources that we will more than make up this deficit.
So it will be a push, or it will be a benefit to us financially. The girls coming and having their own operation will be a benefit to the corporation financially. I believe it'll be a benefit in other ways too, but certainly financially, if that's the question, the liability question.
How do we handle staffing of the co-institution? Does this pull teachers away from the boys, or are we looking to hire teachers?
No, it would not pull teachers away from the boys because Michelle can talk about this if I can get her to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Father asked me to do a mock-up of what a master schedule would look like for a girls' prep division, with the same kind of a core college prep curriculum, just as the boys get. Because for the record, I'm the only adult currently on this screen who lives in a female body and has experienced what it's like to have to work twice as hard to get half of what the guys get next to you. So we want to make sure that we've got equity in all things, that every opportunity that the girls deserve, we're able to give them. And that's where a lot of my concerns come from. I'm already kind of the sexism police at school, and I could see that role growing. So in hiring faculty, we would have to look at faculty that are very flexible, that can teach across levels and across disciplines. Think about something like science, where you need to get somebody who's a good generalist, who can do all the disciplines to be able to provide that for the girls, as well as people that can provide electives, courses that we can also offer through Project Acceleration through Seton Hall, which we have in the boys' side. It's quite a few hires to be able to do this and have the same kind of academic offerings that the boys get.
Go ahead, Kat. Thanks, Michelle.
How do you square the assertion that there's overwhelming support for this with the fact that there wasn't enough support to keep BA open?
Wow. How do I view that? I would, number one, most money in most families is controlled by men. Most contributions to schools go to men's schools. Get Fazio to write this too. Ask him. Goes to men's school. Women have traditionally, number one, they don't make as much as men. Ask the women's soccer players. And they just lost. They just lost the suit, right? They don't make as much as men, and they don't have discretionary income to give to their schools. That's why it's much more difficult for a girls' academy or a woman's school to raise money. So it's the exact same problems exist for women that existed that exist still. You can't go out for a run if you look a certain color without getting shot. I mean, this is it's a little bit amazing to me that some people kind of object to this on philosophical terms. Forget about the philosophy. People need to be protected. There's people under siege, and in a certain sense, if you're a woman of color, you're under siege. If you're a woman, period, in some ways, in some places, you're under siege. Women can't walk where they want to walk when they want to walk there without looking over their shoulder to see who's looking at them, chasing them, or whatever. Right? Forget it. Then they get in the business community and they hit the glass ceiling. So it's and if you're African American, you can't go out for a run without being threatened to get shot. So I mean, it's that's what the Abbey has to stand for. Has to stand for something, huh? If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. So that we are here to be a sign of it's possible to live in a different way. It's possible to love one another, to accept the other the way the other is, and not try to change the other. Accept the other the way the other is. And in the process, those people's gifts can emerge, can come to the surface, and surprising things happen, things that you could never have predicted. There is no way to have predicted what's happening here now 50 years ago. Couldn't do it. Impossible. It's absolutely impossible. Why? Because we didn't do it. God did it through us. And God will work something here through us. I'm convinced of that. What it is, I have no idea. I have no idea. Go ahead, Cass.
From Mike Fazio, with complete respect to Benedictine Academy, our fundraising operation is larger and more sophisticated than theirs. Our brand has the ability to recruit students and donors. So that was in addressing that previous question. Are there buildings near the property that we could get for the girls?
That's a great question. Are there buildings near the property? Yes. Are there buildings that I would like to get? Yes. Can we get them? I don't know that. Remember, the process of this, brothers and sisters, has been, number one, lots of meetings with the Board of Trustees, then lots of meetings with the members of the monastic community, and then meetings with the senior group leader, a meeting with the senior group leaders, some of whom have been enormously helpful because we met on Tuesday night. This is what St. Benedict's is, and the girls need to hear this. 30 of the 39 living senior group leaders were on a phone call with me on Tuesday night with less than 24 hours notice. They all jumped on the phone. Two of whom come to mind immediately because they were involved in significant challenges for institutions to which they belong. One, John Edwin, who was a cadet at the United States Military Academy during the introduction of women into the brigade, into the Corps of Cadets. And Mark Christmas, who was an officer in the New Jersey State Police and was involved with the state police. He's now retired. Senior group leader, John was 80, Mark Christmas is 82, was involved in bringing women into the various roles in the state police. So I've been back and forth with them. Mark wrote me a long email about it. And Sean Lavelle, who was the senior group leader in 88, who has worked here in the city of Newark as a social worker in the schools for a number of years. He's written, so there's a lot of dialogue going on around this. So that meeting happened, and now this meeting, and tomorrow night I have a meeting about the movement of first term. So there's been a whole process that's gone on that had to get cleared first before some of the questions that, like Glenn just asked, can get really the attention that they deserve. But are there buildings around? Yes, but I didn't want to go looking for a building until I had permission to take a chance at trying to do this. And I had to get that from the Board of Trustees, who overwhelmingly supported this, overwhelmingly. And then the monastic community, who supported it, and then the senior group leaders. And I know their hesitancies and everything, but even the guys who have huge concerns about it have written to me and said, listen, whatever decision you guys make, we're behind you. So the girls should know that as well. We're behind you, whatever decision you make. So now the task is the short term, which is beginning school on July 6th, and at the same time looking for or trying to set something up where we can create a more appropriate opportunity, meaning space. Go ahead, Cass.
How might this affect the counseling work the school does? Will young men be as vulnerable with young women around?
Yeah, that's also a great question. Girls, I don't know how current you were with our presence in the counseling over at Benedictine Academy. You either want to be able to, or Troy, any one of the three of you able to talk about that? Maybe not. No. We had one of our counselors in the counseling center 2 days a week was at Benedictine Academy already. We've been working with Benedictine Academy in 4 different areas. Glenn, you may want to comment on your leadership work that's gone on there. We've been involved with them in the counseling. We've had a counselor over there 2 days a week. And Mike Fazio has been working with their advancement office. And Mario Gallo for years has been working with their admissions process, which was not easy to do, especially in advancement and in admissions, because of a certain mindset that existed. But so we've been involved with BA with our adults for 4 years, and so that we've had groups for girls going on already. So do I think guys will be as vulnerable with girls in the meetings? I don't think we would have the girls in the meetings yet, unless the girls and the guys decided that might be helpful. I can tell you this, though, as I've got some professors of women's studies that have taught me a lot over the last 10 years. And one of the things that's to me absolutely staggering, I don't know how much Michelle wants to comment about this, but I can say it. The number of women who have been abused in one way or another, including sexually, is staggering to me. Absolutely staggering. speaking of what Karen was talking about earlier, about having to fight, and the number of women who have been abused in a variety, emotionally, physically, sexually, is staggering to me. I had no clue until I started interacting in a significant and a meaningful way with my professors. Actually, I'll tell you a quick story that Michelle frequently will come to me and she'll walk into my office and she'll say, "Don't say anything. I just need to say this." And she will dump all this stuff on my desk. And I have this tremendous desire to start fixing the stuff that she's dumping. But I bite my tongue because she says to me firmly, "Don't say anything." And I listen. And she dumps it all on my desk and then she walks out. Happy. Guys don't get that. Guys want to fix it. So learning all this stuff is important because it blows up marriages. It blows up marriages. These girls are going to be somebody's wife, hopefully, and somebody's mother someday. So understanding the difference in how we go about thinking about things is very, very, very important. And I've dealt with a lot of marriage issues as a priest, talking to people. If they understood it and learned it as kids, they'd have been a whole lot better off than trying to figure it out when they're 25 years old or 30 years old and 3 kids are running around the living room, you know what I mean? Or 2 kids, and one of whom just took the car when he doesn't have a license, and all of that stuff that you have to deal with. But what else? Michelle, do you want to say anything about that? The counseling question?
I think it's always the assumption, because people tend to look at the differences between the sexes instead of the similarities, that we're all people, that women and girls, we feel everything, and we have emotions all the time and all that kind of stuff. And I think counseling is just as important. And for some of the reasons that Father Ed said, one of the things we are socialized to at a young age is to be pleasers. And Oprah calls it the disease to please. So that speaks to as much of a need for counseling services for young women as there are for young men.
Cass?
Yes, Father. There's a need to explain the difference between co-ed and co-institutional. And then the question is, what becomes co-ed if we're saying that it's going to be co-institutional? Thinking about like activities and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's a great question too. A great question. I'd rather not get hung up on those questions. I would say the girls will be from 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning until 3:15 in the afternoon. The girls and the guys likely wouldn't even know they were near each other. They could be 6 states apart. The challenge is after school with activities and providing the activities for the girls that they deserve and that they want to be interested in. But some of those activities they're going to have to create. Some of them already exist, right? We have a fencing team now, not because I came up with the idea to have a fencing team. Digger Wiggums came up with the idea. He said, "Can we have a fencing team?" I said, "I don't know anything about it. We don't know anybody here that has any." He said, "I have a cousin that knows how to do it." And he got Derek Hoff to come in, and they started with broom handles in the cafeteria. They don't have broom handles now. They have the best fencing room with Columbia University and Newark Academy in the United States of America. So, and a great team. So the girls are going to have to create a lot of activities, but those places where we've already done, so to speak, co-ed, we've done it for those guys who were here in the, Cass, you would know, because you may have been coaching, when the Sinbergs were here, right? Olivia Sinberg.
In the 2000s, yeah.
In the 2000s, Olivia Sinberg was a very, very good swimmer. She used to train with our guys. Her mother taught here. Tara Lenahan, whose mother still teaches here, was a great swimmer, graduated from Fairfield University now, but she trained with our guys as well. So in those areas where you can do that, we would likely do that. In those areas where you need a team, That will be the bigger challenge with only 60 kids. That's the challenge. Because if you have a bunch doing something else, you may not have enough to do a team activity. We'll have to work all that part of it out. But these kids are making a big sacrifice. Karen's a soccer player. We don't know right now whether we can have a soccer team because we don't know whether there's enough girls. Right? We have to find all that out. Or whether we can match up with some other school to do that. The girls are going to have to work on all that. That's why I need to turn them loose and get going on this and not trying to explain it all the time to different people. I want to start moving forward with it. So in those places where it would be easy to do, we'll probably do that and have like fencing, swimming, those kind of things. I know the guy, at least on my screen, he's sitting on the top of the screen. I want to get the two senior group leaders that haven't spoken a chance to say something. But we have a crew team, not because I wanted a crew team. I told Craig White we're not having one. I don't want one. And I kept tripping over ergs every place I went in the school. And I told him to get rid of the ergs. I don't want to have a crew team. And the next thing I find out, I saw a trailer outside with boats on it. So, I mean, I lost that battle, and I'm sure I'm going to lose battles with the girls, too. And I'm sure Craig White will have a boat probably next spring. My expectation would be probably in the fall. But I don't know what activities are going to look like in the fall with the pandemic. But there'll be a boat full of girls rowing, as my guess. Rich, you want to say anything?
Yeah,
Rich,
I'll jump in. I'll jump in first, if that's all right, Craig. In terms of fencing, I trained at Notre Dame with women and got beat by them all the time, and learned how to be a better fencer from the woman fencers on my team. I don't think there's going to be any issue with having a young woman be part of the fencing team. The issue I have with all of this has nothing to do with what the young women are going to be capable of doing. I think they're going to be fantastic. I think we're going to do a great job as a school making this program work and be really successful. My concerns are we have limited resources. This is just a fact of life, and it's a fact for St. Benedict's Prep. And, the fencing team has had a great donor over the last 10 years, and it's really helped. But guess what? Our space is too small. I can't have 40 guys, 45 guys on the team because we don't have enough space. We need more space. So with young women fencers on the team, it's going to come with space, logistic challenges. We're going to have to figure a lot of stuff out. So listen, my big concern is we need more resources. So we need to start figuring out how to do this right, because the last thing I want is to have a girls division where the girls feel like second-class citizens. They need to feel like they are gray bees, equal with the men, with the boys.
Craig?
I would say make sure you support. I see a lot of positive comments in the chat. People who think this is a great idea. We need more than that. We need a lot more than that. So if you're behind us, give to the institution. And if you don't have the resources to do it, volunteer your time. I think someone said it earlier. My life was drastically changed because of many of the teachers that I had here at St. Benedict's. I would not be the same person that I am today if it weren't for this institution. And I understand the desire. I absolutely understand the desire to do this thing for these young women. But you need to do more. We all need to do more than just talk about it. You got to reach into your pockets. You got to volunteer your time to be able to help make the institution better so we can evolve in a positive way. I think that's really, really important. And it's something that we all need to do.
I'm sensitive to people's time. And it's starting to get dark out here on King Boulevard. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Any other questions, Cass? Go on.
There are other questions. Before I read that, if I can the chat has been amazing, Father. I want to point this out. yes, there's been lots of positive comments. There have been several negative comments, but I think it's actually been a very good discussion and a respectful discussion for the most part. So I want to thank everybody that's joined us tonight and has participated in this. Not everybody is going to agree. We understand that on either side, but it's important to have the discussions, and so we do appreciate that. We are keeping notes on things that we didn't get to address tonight. I know that there were some questions. There's more questions about the specifics and the plans, and those we'll have to get to when we get to them, I think is the fairest way to say that. But I want to just acknowledge the fact that we are seeing these comments and that we do appreciate everybody's participation in this. It's actually extremely helpful. Is there a way, Father, that people can continue to express their concerns if they have some for us in the days to come?
Yes, absolutely. You can see what Fazio says, whether it's easier to send them to Fazio's office where we can sort them out. See how he answers that. I would say this also. It's very important to remember this. How many people are with us, Cass? Can you tell me? More or less?
Dropping a little now. At one point, we were up to 350 something. Now it's down just below 300.
So I would say this, that when the announcement of Benedict's closing, not Benedictine Academy, in 1972, when the announcement was made that Benedict's was closing, there was a big meeting in the school cafeteria. As always happens when these schools close, everybody wants to do something after the fact. But some of the same people weren't doing anything before the fact to keep it open. Somebody shouted out, "You can't close our school." And one of the monks, I think it may have been Abbot Ambrose, responded by saying, "It's not your school, it's our school," meaning the monks. Bad mistake. That was absolutely not true. And it was that attitude, not a culture, it was that attitude that caused the demise of the school. So that's why I have taken the time that we've taken over the last 8 weeks to involve as many people as possible who are owners of this place. It's not mine. It's not the monks. It's ours. And we're not going to agree on everything. But I have been enormously grateful for the fact of guys who disagree, who then make sure they get in touch with me and say, "Father Ed, we're behind you, whatever decision you make." So I'm really, really thankful for that. But I want to be clear. It is ours. It is ours. It's not mine and it's not the monks. It's ours. We are the stewards of it, the custodians, so to speak, of it, no doubt, the monks. But that's why we've taken the time, and these girls probably want to choke me, and some of the guys as well, because I've had the girls on these whatever Zoom things for how many times now, girls? 7, 10? I don't even know. So I'm very, very cognizant of that fact. And even those who disagree, my guess is when a bunch of girls stick the flag on the front of one of those shells over the finish line first, and they have St. Benedict's on their back, everybody who thought it was a bad idea is going to think it's a great idea. I was with this all the time, right? The first girl who becomes a state prep champ in swimming, since we haven't had any since Cullen Jones on the guys' side, all the guys was like, "This is a great idea." I was one of the supporters early on. So who knows how this is going to go? Kim Huff from the class of 81, he says, "It's getting dark, Father Ed. Watch out for the swamp people." Kim Huff. You guys are out of your minds. So
for those that
keep praying, keep firing. Did Fazio answer, Glenn?
Yes, Father. For those that have additional comments or questions, they can send them to grayb@sbp.org. grayb@sbp.org. That's GRAYBE@sbp.org.
keep the questions coming. It helps us to shape this thing in a way that may make most sense. Okay, were you going to say something else, Glenn?
No, that's it, Father.
Okay, thank you for those that have been on the, what do you call it, Karen? On the what? Not Karen, I guess Agnes, what? On the what? What are we doing?
The Zoom?
You used the word before, huh?
The Zoom?
Is that it? I don't know. I mean, but those who are on the TV here, we're really thankful for you taking the time to do it. You remain in our prayers always. Pray for us that all this craziness can work to God's glory. Thank you. Our help is in the name of the Lord.
Who made heaven and earth.